Hi, today is March, Sunday. It's March the 23rd, 2014. Today's menu is baked chicken, broccoli cheese casserole, corn on the cob, and for dessert, Blackberry cobbler. Here, what I've done is I have seasoned my chicken already. Use your favorite seasonings, whatever your Cajun seasoning is you like. I use onion and garlic powder, a little pepper, and what I found is your chicken is to add you some strips of green bell pepper. You can also use red and orange, yellow. I don't have it. I prefer green anyway, but this is what you do. You just take your chicken and you bake it at 350 until done, which is probably an hour and a half to two. It depends on how large your pieces are. So I'm going to come back and show you what the finished product is. I'm going to also show you my broccoli and rice casserole that I make. Stay tuned. Okay, now we're going to get ready to make a broccoli and cheese casserole with ground beef. For this recipe, we're going to use a 16-ounce bag of cut broccoli. You don't want the spears, they're going to be too big. You want it chopped up. I have a 15-ounce jar, cheese whiz, can of cream of mushroom soup. This time I'm using great value. 1 pound of ground chuck. I have 4 green onions. Well, not 4 green onions, but 4 of the, little, you know what I'm saying. Then I have about 2 teaspoons of garlic along with some seasoning blend I used about a cup and a half of seasoning blend, but I also use garlic. One thing I found that any of your rice or pasta dishes, green onion is the key. It really enhances the flavor. Also for seasonings, we're going to use, this is actually cayenne pepper. I get the big jars and I put it in here. So it's cayenne pepper, just a little accent. I found that too much accent also makes your food kind of bitter. Onion powder, chonies, this is my favorite Cajun seasoning. Don't hardly cook without it. Black pepper, garlic powder. And what I don't have here is my 2 cups of rice that I'll be using for this dish. Okay, let's get started. Okay, this recipe can be a little labor intensive because what you're going to do, you're going to have to boil your broccoli, cut broccoli until tender. I'm sorry. You're going to have to also boil your rice. Now, sometimes what I'll do is I'll start out boiling my broccoli, and then I'll just go ahead and add my rice to the hot water with the broccoli in it, and then when it's finished, I'll just take it and I'll drain it. Okay? You have to do those two things to the broccoli and the rice. Okay, when you move over to, then you have to saute your vegetables. You have to brown your ground beef, and then you add those together. But anyway, I'm moving ahead of myself. I'll get back and show it to you. Okay, to saute my vegetables, I use uh, about 3/4 of a tablespoon of butter, salted butter, and I used a teaspoon of olive oil. And to that, I'm going to add my vegetables. I'm going to saute those. Okay, here I'm browning the ground beef, and I'm going to strain it and add it to the sauteed vegetables. Alright, now when my broccoli is maybe halfway boiled, what I'll do is I rinse my rice. I use Uncle Ben's or Zatarain's long grain parboiled rice. When this rice cooks, it's grain for grain. And that's the type of rice I like. But you'll see when I complete this dish. But anyway, I'm going to rinse this rice and add it to this pot of boiling water for the broccoli. I want to bring you back and show you something now. This rice, this cut broccoli I got from Walmart. You see how big it's cut? What I'm going to do before I actually mix this dish, and when I strain this, I'm going to actually cut these big pieces down a little. My family don't really like the big chunks like that. I prefer it that way, but they don't. So the majority of them are going to cut that. And if your family is the same way, cut it a little smaller, especially if you're trying to sneak a vegetable in for your kids. If you cut this smaller, it adds to the taste. You got the vegetables, but the taste is hidden, per se. Okay, do that. Okay, here I've combined our sauteed vegetables along with the beef. This is strained. And so we're going to let this cook down a little. And then once this broccoli and rice finish, we're going to add this dish. And what you're going to do, when this is complete, you're going to bake it for a little. So you don't want your broccoli and rice cooked completely done, about 3/4 way. Okay? I'll come back and show you how to combine it. Please fix a dessert on Sunday. And today we're having blackberry dumplings. Okay, what I have here is Kroger had their 6-ounce containers of blackberries for 99 cents this week. That sale ends Tuesday, March 25th. What I did was I actually I bought 48 ounces, which is 4 pounds of the berries. Because what my intentions are this time is to actually strain them, so when I make the dumplings, all we'll have is just the liquor from the berries and not the actual seeds. Okay, so I have a stick of butter. I have real butter. I use salted butter, and I also have 2 cups of sugar. Now, the reason why I have the sugar there, I was trying to draw some of the juices out of the berries, but unlike strawberries, it doesn't do so well. So I did that for about 30 minutes. So now I've added a stick of butter. I have this set on low. I'm going to just let the sugar and the berries combine to try to release some of those liquids. What I may end up having to do is add some water, which I don't want to, but I only do maybe a cup. Maybe 2, it just depends on how much liquor I get from this many berries. I normally use frozen berries or berries that have actually been picked, but these are actually some I bought at the store, so we're going to see how they do. And I'm going to come back and show you how I fix my berries and how I make my dumplings. Some people make their dumplings, they roll them out like biscuits, and they cut them and they drop them in. However, I'm different. I take mine and I bake them for a while. I take them out of there after I bake them, and then I place them inside my the liquor. But we'll come back with that later. Just wanted to show you what's for dessert. Hey you guys, look what I found. Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. Ah. Okay, now what we season this with, we have our stick of butter, and I'm also going to add some nutmeg, cinnamon, and just maybe a half a teaspoon of pure vanilla. We're going to let this just cook down. I may not strain it. I don't know. It just depends on how those berries break up. They may not do as bad since they're still around. I'm not sure, but I'll come back and let you know what I decided to do with it. Okay. Hold one moment. Okay. So here are those. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to have to chop that up because it's softened, when I mix it, it's going to be okay. Let me add the other ingredients that I need to add to this, and I'll be back to show you, how I prepare this. Okay, so I didn't have to cut that broccoli. I just remembered that when it, because it's nearly done, it's soft enough so when I cook it, I can break it up. But anyway, here I've added the cream of mushroom soup, and I did my Campbell's soup and my cheese whiz, my can of cheese whiz. So what you do, you mix this thoroughly. Now what I do, because the cheese whiz is salty, I put all of my other ingredients except the Tony Creole, and I just add that just, at the when I've combined everything to make sure it has the taste that I like. But the secret ingredient to this is actually this cayenne pepper. It says red pepper, I know, but it's cayenne pepper. But this is the secret ingredient here for this. Also, remember what I told you about whenever you make anything, any pasta or rice dishes, make sure you amp up your green onions because that really enhances the flavor. In my opinion, for my taste, it may be something different for you. But I'm just telling you what works for me, and maybe one time you want to try it. And if it's not your thing, then just go back to what you normally do. Okay, I'll be back when I can thoroughly mix this because I'm using the camera, and I'll get back with you. Okay, this is our finished casserole with beef. And what I'm going to do now is actually move it into our casserole dish, but I'm going to place you on hold. I can't do it and hold the camera, sorry. Okay, here it is ready to be baked. Everything is combined. All I do is place it in the oven on 350 for about 20 minutes. Just let all the, like they say, let all the seasonings get to know one another. And this, I'll come back and show you when I plate it up. But again, um, what makes this recipe really good is I don't like really hot food, like burn your tongue hot. But you have to kick this up with the cayenne pepper. Excuse me, that's the tone of season I did turn my head. But that is what gives this an excellent flavor, and you can't be afraid to use seasonings either, like your onion, your garlic, your bell pepper, and things like that. Can't be afraid to use that because that also kicks up the flavor. But here it is, your broccoli and cheese casserole with ground beef. Alright, for my dumplings, I used 2 cups of flour, half teaspoon of baking powder, and half teaspoon of salt. I'm going to use a fourth of a cup of Crisco shortening. I'm going to use 5 tablespoons of milk. Also, with that, I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of sugar. And you're going to combine your dry ingredients, and then you're going to add your shortening and cut it, the normal how you're going to make your pastry. And then you're going to add the milk and mix it up, and then you're going to roll it out and dump it in the berries while they're boiling. And I'll come back and show you. Okay, here are my dumplings. I went ahead and made them up, and I'm going to drop them in there while it's boiling. You want to make sure you got a boil when you drop your dumplings in there. And what we're going to do, we're going to place a top over this. And some people say they turn theirs off right away. I don't. I'm going to let mine cook for about 5 more minutes. And I'm going to let that, the heat is going to actually cook the dumplings. You want to make sure that they're going to be done. That's why I'll give it another 5 minutes to let them actually cook, covered with the heat. And then I turn the heat off. And remember I told you that sometimes I bake them first. Well, my oven is preoccupied with the other things I'm going to have with my dinner, so I'm not going to hold it up. Okay? Alright. Okay, here's our finished look with all of the added dumplings. What I do, I just kind of shook them up a little bit. And all I'm going to do is put the top on them now. I have my oven set on medium. I'm going to put the top on it, and I'm going to cook it for about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn the top off, and the residual heat is going to actually continue to cook those dumplings until they're done. Okay? Let me show you something else. All of this broth that's in the bottom of this pan, I pour a lot of that out because I know this chicken is done. And what I do is I put it on broil with the top off because I like my chicken kind of dried out baked. I don't like it, I'm not saying it's juicy, but it's dried out. You don't have all that liquor at the bottom of the pan. And what I do is I take that liquor, I place it in heat-proof storage container, and let it come to room temperature. And I just take that the fat off, and I use the broth. Like if I'm gonna do a gumbo or chicken and gravy or something like that, then that's my broth. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm finished. Okay, here is my finished chicken, and I'm gonna